this Sadashiva, then he's there, he's worshipping Sankarshan in the Natashesh. So now what happens, this is his eternal abode, Sadashiva Loka, he eternally lives there. But he has devotees, he has, in terms of creation, there's many, it gets quite, you can say, somewhat confusing, but actually it has order. Now this Anantashesh, because you have to understand that basically Shiva is Vishnu, and Brahma, Shiva's in a different category than any other demigod, first of all. That's why sometimes Shiva is Vishnu Tattva, and then there's another form of Shiva which is called Shiva Tattva. You maybe heard this term. Shiva Tattva and Vishnu Tattva. But Brahma demigods, they're all Jiva Tattva. They're living entities like us. But Shiva is very special. So now, when this Sadashiva, he also has devotees. Devotees worship him. Just like there's devotee of a devotee of a devotee of a devotee, like this. So one of his devotees' names is Kubera. Kubera is Jiva Tattva, like us. He is a treasurer of the demigods. You must have heard. He's like Rockefeller. He runs the World Bank. He runs the Celestial Bank for the demigods. They take loans and they deposit with him and get interest. And so his Ishtadev he's worshipping Sadashiva. So Shiva is so happy and so grateful and such a friend of his, he agrees to come and live with him. So he expands himself. One form is eternally existing, Sadashiv. But now there's another Shiva which enters into this material world and lives on Kubera Loka, which is in the material world. And it's a temporary planet, and it's temporary existing. That Shiva is known as Lord Shiva. He's Lord Shiva, the expansion of the Sadashiva. Now when he came to Kubera says, listen, do you have any place for me? He says, yes, I have a beautiful mountain you can live on. And the name of that mountain is Mount Kailash. People have heard of this Mount Kailash. So this Mount Kailash is on the planet of Kubera, in the material world, and Lord Shiva lives there. And he lives there in extremely reduced situation. For example, when you're living at home, you have a rather opulent arrangement with your house, all the accoutrements and comforts that you have there. But when you go on vacation, or you go to visit your relatives in London or America, you may not have the same facility. Highly doubtful. You have some apartment or some room or maybe some cottage. If your people are very wealthy, they say, yes, I have a guest cottage on my estate. You can stay there. And it might be quite nice. But it can't match home sweet home. You don't have all the maids, you don't have all the butlers and the cooks and the 5 cars and the swimming pool and so many things. So in the same way, when Lord Shiva expands himself out of his friendship, he has friendship for Kubera because he's grateful for him, for his devotion. He lives in a very reduced situation. He lives on Kailash practically with nothing, and he's just living under a bael tree. And it's a very, very renounced situation. Why does he do that? Out of his love for his devotee. He lives in this. But if you read in the scriptures about the situation of Sadashiva Loka, it's fantastic opulence because it's a spiritual world. He's living in a wonderful palace. Sadashiva lives in a wonderful palace. And he has, and Parvati is so beautifully adorned with thousands of maidservants, and is eating chapan bhog, and everything's wonderful in Shiva Loka. So it's here he agrees to live in this rather reduced situation. Now you must have heard the name Rudra. You must have heard Rudra. So sometimes you just put it all in one big kitchery. You put it in one big pot and you have Sadashiva and Sadashiva and Rudra and Shiva and this and that. But the scriptures explain that, because also it's explained that when Brahma was creating different living entities, he created the 4 Kamaras, Chatus Kamar. These 4 little brahmacharis, the 4 Kamaras. And he said, listen you guys, or listen you boys, I want you to be progenitors, and make so many children, and expand this, fill the universe with living entities. And they said, no way, forget it. No way, we're not interested. We don't want to buy into the company store. I don't want to join the family business. Brahma, that's your business. We want to just travel and chant and preach and be Krishna conscious. So then Brahma became a little angry, just like fathers get angry. If the son says, "Oh, Dad, I want to join the Hare Krishna movement," he said, "What is this? You don't want to join the family business? What is this? I curse you!" And he becomes a little angry because he loves you so much. But as soon as you say you want to chant Hare Krishna, then you find out how thin his love is. His love is rather thin, rather liquid, not very solid or substantial. You do it. We used to have one temple president. He lived in a big temple. It was right near a major highway. And he was rather dictatorial. And he said, "Listen, in my temple, you do it my way or the highway." So in other words, you follow what I say in my temple, or get on the highway and go to some other temple. So he said, "It's in this temple here. Prabhupada made me the temple president. So he would say, in my temple, it's my way or the highway." So some fathers are like that. It's my way or the highway. So as soon as you say, "I want to chant Hare Krishna," he says, "Okay, get lost. Cut you out of the will, get out the scissors and cut you out." Because we have direct experience of that. So I'm speaking from experience. I'm a man of experience. Because I have one brother, and my father is extremely wealthy, or he was, he's not anymore. And that's exactly what happened to me. I got cut out of the will, but God's will shall be done. And God's will is being done, and I have no lamentation over the execution of His will. But at any rate, so Brahma, when the 4 Kumaras, they became reluctant to follow his will, then he became angry. And from his anger, as you know, when you get angry, usually your eyebrows, you make some facial expression when you're angry. You furrow your eyebrows. It's called furrowing your eyebrows. What's this? When he furrowed his eyebrows, from his anger came a form of Shiva. Right? That Shiva is known as Lord Shiva, or also Rudra. And that same Rudra, because if you want to destroy something, you have to get angry. If you're peaceful, it's shanti, shanti, man, relax, peaceful. If you're just sitting in a corner, relaxed, you're peaceful, then how can you destroy anything? You have to get angry. Hey, what is this? So now, Anantashesha, when it's time for the universe, this particular universe that's sitting on top of Anantashesha's head, as I told you before, he's holding this whole universe. When it's time for that universe to be destroyed, in terms of the creation, destruction, pralaya and shrishti pralaya, in the cycle of shrishti, creation and destruction, then Anantashesha becomes a little angry. He gets a little angry. And he starts hissing, and he starts releasing some sparks of fire from his mouth. Because the snakes have this poison. The poison is very fiery. When you get bitten by a cobra, it releases venomous poison into your veins or your arteries. And that poison makes your body very, very hot. You get an extreme fever and you burn up. You die. You get death fever because this poison is so much like hot. So this Anantashesha, he gets a little angry, and then from his anger, from his body, he produces Rudra. Because we already mentioned, Shankarshan, he expands into Sadashiva, and Sadashiva, so this Shiva, you can see how this Shiva, all the time, he's connected with Sankarshan. Sankarshan is expansion of Balaram. Balaram is expansion of Krishna. So now, this Rudra comes out of the body of Anantashesha. Then he expands into 11 forms. Maybe you've heard 11 Rudras. They're depicted on the cover of the 5th canto of Bhagavatam, because they're described. And then as the universe starts to burn up from these sparks coming from the mouth of Anantashesha, then they start dancing and dancing this Tandava Nritya and destroy everything. So this is something about Shiva, a little bit about the origin to some extent.